And we have a record number of participants this year, 20 people from from Turkey and from other countries abroad. So I again want to thank all of them for their great contributions, and I think this will be a good platform for them to have an experience on giving a presentation in the conferences. And we are also going to give them a certificates after the conference. We will send the certificates to them for their attendance. And also we have an abstract book. The abstract book will also going to be presented after the conference, maybe tomorrow or next week. And all of these special characteristics of this conference makes a perfect setting for an exchange of knowledge and ideas and deliberation and launch of some constructive dialogues on sustainable energy between students and professional experts, because in every session there will be two experts to evaluate the papers, and they will give them some very good inputs to them to make their presentation much better, and also the thesis much better. Maybe the last but not least, I want to thank our rector, Professor Durkanoğlu Faiz. She generously offered her help in every areas, both financially and in terms of human resources. And her support and guidance have proved invaluable. I hope you all enjoy the technical session, and as well as have good contacts with each other and with the professionals, and so that you will have a chance to enlarge your professional network here. So thank you again for all of you for participating and for contributing this conference. And maybe we can start with the first session. Okay, Vildan, it's your turn.
Thank you, Professor. Yes, we have now, we are starting with the first session. In this session, our moderators are dear Associated Dr. Gökhan Kirkil from Kadir Has University, and dear Dr. Değer Saygın from SHURA Energy Transition Center. He is the director of the center, and we have 4 papers in this session, and dear moderators will explain you the titles and process during the session. And at the end of the session, we will have questions from participants. You can write your questions to the chat part, and our moderators will ask the questions to the discussants. And yes, now I would like to leave the speech to our dear moderators and dear Gökhan Kirkil and Değer Saygın. Yes, please.
Thank you, Vildan. We have now 5 presentations on green and sustainable energy. So each presentation will have 15 minutes time slot, so including all the presentation and the questions. I wish you a successful session. Değer Bey, would you like to say a few words before we start?
Well, thank you very much for the invitation, first of all. I've already had the chance to read the abstracts for the next 5 presentations. I have to say I'm impressed. It's touching upon a lot of issues which as SHURA we also work with, but over the overall energy transition strategies of Turkey. They're all in their own field, very distinct abstract. So I very much look forward to listening to them now, and hopefully I will try to make a meaningful and helpful contribution after the presentations in providing some feedback and thoughts. So thank you again, and I wish all the best to the presenters.
Thank you. So I'm now going to start with the first presentation. First presentation will be given by Fatih Avcı, and their abstract or their research with Professor Volkan Ediger is named The Effect of Climate Change on Power Generation Resilience, 2 case studies from Turkey. The Fatih, floor is yours, and you have 15 minutes to complete your presentation.
Yes, we see.
Yes, we can see.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. My name is Fatih, and I'm PhD student in Kadir University and working with Professor Ediger. Today, I will talk about the climate change effects and how it hits the power, especially power generation systems, and I will give some examples in Turkey. So as you all know that the climate change is obvious and the temperatures are increasing and the intensity of meteorological events are increased, especially in the last years. For instance, the rains cause the floods and the extreme temperatures cause hot waves in some region especially. And our country, Turkey, is one of the affected countries from this climate change. And for example, in the second graph, you can see the land temperature is increasing and also the Turkey temperature is increasing as well. All these extreme weather events can hit the social life with hitting the critical infrastructure systems like electricity, like energy systems, transportation systems, water systems, even some internet systems, and these kind of critical infrastructure systems. And in our study, we focused on the energy sector and especially power generation sector. Extreme weather situation can hit all these critical infrastructure systems, and as I mentioned, we will focus on these power generations, and this situation can affect directly to the energy availability and energy security of the country. For example, in the first graph, you can see the power outages on the United States. So in the recent years, so the numbers of outages are increased extremely. In the second graph, as you can see, number of extreme events. This is weather-related events. Extreme events are increasing years by years in Turkey too. And after this slide, I will analyze the extreme temperatures and the floods as extreme events in our study, and their correlation with power plant operating hours and power plant availability. Yeah, I can say like this. Next slide. Okay. In our study, we analyzed 2 cases. One is coal-fired power plant, and another one is a run-of-river type hydropower plant. We got the outage and maintenance data from Değer website for related power plant, and filtered only climate change related problems. The second data is related with the climate, and we got the data from Turkish Meteorological Institute, and the data is hydrometeorological data from January 2016 and December 2018. Also, we have the hourly temperature data for the related locations. So this is our first case, Çanakkale Thermal Power Plant. The installed capacity is 320 megawatt, and the first graph describes the power generation of the plant on the vertical axis and the time zone on the horizontal axis. As you can see, we put some letters on the graph. Let me say the letter A shows the maintenance periods. So the power plant is all closed, so it's not working. The plant B, letter B shows the problems on extreme temperatures, B1, B2, B3. So you can see the details on the right side on the table. The letter C shows the whole summer periods. As you can see, the power generation drops on the summer periods of the year, especially in C1 and C3. The second graph, the same letters, the same B letters shows the extreme temperatures on that days. The black line refers to plant design temperature. Also, you can see the detailed information about the B points on the right side, as I mentioned. For example, on July 30, the plant lost especially 60% of their capacity because of the high temperature during these 6 hours. This is one of our case, and another case is from hydropower plant, the Eylül hydropower plant. This is the installed capacity is 27 megawatt. The first graph describes the power generation of the plant on the horizontal axis again, and the time zone in the horizontal axis again. Sorry. The letters are same again, the B1, B2, B3. This refers again the extreme events letters. You can see the same letters in the second graph. The second graph represents the precipitations of the region. So the average rain amount was close to 9 millimeter per each precipitation event in Adana. The plant is located in Adana, by the way. The average was 9 millimeter for the whole 90 years average. But in that day, for example, the 29th March 2018, it's observed that there were 30 millimeter rain. So this huge amount of rain caused a flood. So this flood brought some materials and clogged the water delivery channel to the power plant. So whole plant was stopped because of this sudden and unexpected flood. As they mentioned on the problems list, they stopped the plant and the whole channels were cleaned, and then after then the operation was started again. So especially in these kind of systems, most of the time plants operator works with the Meteorology Institute for the potential rain and potential floods. According to any possibility, they can stop the plant before these kind of huge amount of rains. When they are not in operation, so it's not a problem, but when they are in operation, if something happens, the plant should give the details to the TEAŞ. So as a result, Çan Thermal Power Plant lost $1.4 million in a year because of the increasing temperatures in the region, especially on summers. We mentioned 320 megawatt capacity, but their installed capacity, but it generates approximately 250 megawatts in the summer terms. So it lost like 70 megawatts from their capacity. So this number is coming from this loss of capacity. Eylül hydropower plant lost $35,000 in the last flooding case, as we mentioned in the graph. As seen in the graph below, the power plants should be designed for more resilient to the climate change. The number of hot temperatures days are increasing as of today or in the upcoming future. So this situation can be assessed and actions should be taken for existing thermal power plants or the new investments in the energy sector especially. So the design should be made not the existing current climate data. So we should estimate a new climate data for the, let me say, next 50 or next 60 years. So the red line represents that one in the second graph. So this is a top view for the energy sector. So you can see which climate change cases impact the power supply chains. So decision makers and investors should be careful about this situation and take necessary precautions. For example, these floods can hit all the power generation systems and transmission and distribution lines and stations. So I just give an example for the thermal power plants on the below. So yes, this is the end of my slide. So thank you for listening, and I'm waiting your questions if you have any.
Thank you, Fatih, for this great presentation. Are there any questions from the audience? You can open your microphones and ask questions. If not, I have a question, Fatih. So for hydropower plants, when you observe these peak events, actually it will take some time to reach to the hydropower plant. Did you consider this also? Like, for example, the rain will occur yesterday, but it will take some time to reach to the power plants.
Yes, especially these rain periods is like 3 days, and our power plant is only stopped for 18 hours from these, let me say, 2 days. The flood occurred, and after then they have some precautions, but they didn't stop it. So after then, the floods brought some, let me say, external materials to their channel. So they cleaned the channel in the 18 hours. So after then they can, if I'm not wrong, it took, the rain started, and after 10 hours, if I'm not wrong, I don't remember the exact numbers, but it should be around 8 or 10 hours after the rain started when they hit our power plant.
Yeah, yeah.
But even in that time, they lost some channels, and they should stop their plants.
And for the thermal power plants, if temperature increases and the efficiency decreases, I think that may require the change of the turbine, or some changes in the machinery, I guess.
Machinery or how can I say, the air intake systems. If you have a good condition of air intake, so you can increase your efficiency again. So you should cool the air before the combustion. So if you cool the air with the design temperature, or let me say the expected machinery temperature, so the problem will be solved. But right now, the combustion air is not cooled, so there will be efficiency drops.
Yeah, so the after air intake, you need to spend some energy to cool it down.
Yeah, exactly.
So that will increase the energy consumption of the whole power plant.
Yeah, right.
I see. Okay. Any more questions from the audience, or?
I have one, and if that's okay, and maybe
Sure.
I could also say a few things on this presentation, because I find it extremely important. I suspect this type of climate events on power plants, both thermal and hydro, does not only take place for these two case studies, but for many other in Turkey. So one question is, to which extent these findings for this case study is also applicable to other power plants in Turkey? This is important for me because the economic impacts you've shown are quite significant. And that at the end of the day is probably reflected on the tariff of the consumer, which is rather worrying. And that concludes to the fact that Turkey needs to take immediate action on designing climate adaptation policy, because this, at the end of the day, comes to that resilience. So I want to understand a bit of, is this a very specific case for these power plants, or is this also for many other power plants in Turkey?
No, this is applicable for many other power plants. For example, we have also some numbers from Gebze CCGT, also one power plant in Denizli, if I'm not wrong, it is also CCGT. So if it's a thermal power plant, if there is a combustion, you can see these kind of numbers. So this is applicable for all of the thermal power plants.
And in the costs, did you account for the fact that some of the power plants, other than these, will need to increase their production to balance, to avoid any imbalancing issue? Because that's also a cost.
Yeah, right.
Accounted for here, or?
You mentioned the cost of the electricity, right, for the customers?
Not really. Okay, so here in your analysis, you accounted for the cost impact because there's losses and
yes.
But somebody else, another power plant, will need to increase its production.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't consider this.
Okay.
Yeah, we just mentioned about the power plant loss, and we just calculated from that loss to these economical figures.
Okay, so this means the costs will be even higher. That's
exactly,
even more worrying.
exactly,
okay.
Exactly.
Okay, very, very important outcomes. Very interesting. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fatih. I think if there are no questions, we can move to the next presentation.
Okay.
The next presentation will be given by Ceren Kutlu from Middle East Technical University. Her presentation is on technical potential of public rooftop solar photovoltaic for Ankara, a preliminary study. Ceren, the floor is yours.
Okay.
You can start.
Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for inviting me. I am Ceren Kutlu. I am environmental engineer, and I graduated from Earth Systems Science Department in November. Today, I will present a part of my master thesis. The topic is technical potential of public rooftop solar photovoltaic for Ankara. It's a preliminary study. So it was my master thesis, and I studied with Professor Dr. Bülent Akınoğlu from Physics Department. And we divided into 3 parts of the buildings in Ankara as residential buildings, public buildings, and commercial buildings. And also for commercial buildings, we only used shopping malls. Also, around 2 weeks ago, me and my colleague Beyza Dursoy presented the residential building part on the PVCon conference. I would like to start with the short recall of the sum of SDG and energy nexus. So SDG 7 directly point out the renewable energy. I put here SDG 13 because, as we all know, that climate crisis is started with greenhouse gases, which sourced by fossil fuels. I put here SDG 3, good health and well-being, because around 6.5 million people are dying because of the poor air quality in every year. And also I put here SDG 6, clean water and sanitation, because there is direct linkage between water and the energy. We need water for energy in the extraction of mining and cooling purposes. And also we need energy in the water due to treatment of water and distribution of water. And also I put here SDG 8, decent work and economic growth, because a green economy creates green jobs, and this green jobs includes the jobs like direct jobs, indirect jobs, and induced jobs. Also, I wanted to put here SDG 5 and SDG 10 because in many of the traditions, women are responsible for providing the energy and water for their households, and a lot of women consume their times for providing mostly biomass sourced energy for their house. And also, according to 2015 values, around 38% of people doesn't have to access to clean cooking facilities. And also I put here SDG 1, no poverty, because in some points, poverty means the energy poverty. Because if people unable to meet the basic levels of energy requirements, such as lighting or electrical purposes, it also means poverty. So we have to find a solution for this energy consumption. And if you look at the total energy consumption, cities are responsible for over 2/3 of this consumption. And also buildings are responsible for half of it. If you look at the worldwide, 169 countries and more than 250 cities have renewable energy targets. In the left side, in the graph, you can see the sum of these cities which have renewable energy target. And these cities have different renewable energy targets for different years. Also, in 2019, a European directive is announced for the policies and actions for buildings, sorry. And also, as a lot of cities have renewable energy targets, some of the cities also have the regulations on rooftop solar PV studies. For example, in Vienna, today installment on the rooftop of the industrial buildings are compulsory, and also after 2021, this will be also compulsory for the new residential buildings with multi-dwelling. So in here, I would like to show the net electricity consumption according to sectors. In here, in the purple one, you can see the industry. In green shows that the public, blue shows commercial, and red shows the households. Although the percentages are not changing so fast, we know that the energy consumption increases day by day. So these sectors also still consume a lot of energy. And here, in the below figure, I would like to share with you some of the cities' global horizontal irradiance. I have taken this figure from my master thesis. In here, some of the cities have renewable energy targets, and others have the rooftop PV potential studies in literature. For example, you can see the two cities from Germany, Berlin and Freiburg. Germany is, as you know, that Germany is the solar leader in Europe. And as you can see in Berlin and Freiburg have lower global horizontal irradiance than Ankara. Also in here, you can see that a lot of cities have lower global horizontal irradiance than Ankara. So if we just short recall the energy hierarchy, in the first step, we try to reduce demand, and this step will provide by consumers. And the second step, we try to improve the energy efficiency. As a country, as you know, that Turkey has an energy efficiency target by 2023 and at least 15% on public buildings. So this step is also on table. And the third step, we try to provide our energy demand by renewable sources. And my thesis focus on this third step. In my thesis, the main motivation was to find the rooftop PV potential of Ankara, which is which depend on building and module types. Also, we wanted to provide an accurate methodology for rooftop PV potential, which is reliable, free and open source, and applicable to every type of roofs. There are two studies in Turkey, the SHURA and World Bank, but they both are studies on the Turkey, country-based studies. But according to policymakers, emphasize that the city-based or municipality-based solutions will provide faster and more effective results. We wanted to focus on one city, Ankara. In my study, we measured all of the roof areas of public buildings by Google Earth, and after that, we divided into two parts of the public buildings, as pitch roof public buildings and flat roof public buildings. For pitch roof public buildings, we use the constants directly from residential building data, because in the pitch roof public buildings are the form of the residential buildings. And also in flat roof public buildings, we select 5 samples. Why did we select these 5 samples? Because for better assumption, we have to know the approximate value of the obstacles in roof, such as chimneys or ventilation units, because they have huge shading effect on the roof. And for these 5 buildings, we have the approximate altitude data in Google Earth, and we applied in our study. Also, for all of the public buildings, we applied 3 types of modules: monocrystalline modules, polycrystalline modules, and bifacial modules. In here, you can see the different module installment in the Department of Revenue. Department of Revenue is the Gelir İdaresi Başkanlığı in Turkish. And also we used for our study Heliscope software. We select this software because of the Heliscope gave the best results for the Ankara and Sparta studies. Especially in Ankara, Heliscope gave the best results for the rooftop of the physics building in Metro. In here, you can see the same building with different module applications. As you can see in here, the first row is different for all, although the building is the same. The first row, the module alignment is different from each other. The main reason for that, the size of the modules are different. So the required space between the modules due to shadings are different. So according to different modules, the space between modules are changed. Also in here, you can see how ventilation units cover a space in the roof, and also it has huge shading effect on the roof. Although we applied 3 types of modules, since the same methodology is the same methodology is applied, you can see the application in bifacial module. In the first column, you can see the samples of public roof, and in the public building, sorry. And the second column, you can see the number of modules which calculated by Heliscope software. In here, this number shows that how many modules can we settle to this rooftop. Also, Heliscope gave us the annual energy production per building. And after, since we know the module area, we find the usable area. So we found the usable area by the multiplication of number of modules and module area. After finding usable area, we find the usable area ratio. We found this ratio by division of usable area to the total area, which we found from Google Earth. After that, in table 3, you can see we found that the average annual production per module, and we found the average value of them. And after that, we applied these constants to the whole public buildings. So here my results. We saw that the best results for flat roofs came from bifacial modules. And for pitch roofs, we found that the best results came from monocrystalline modules. The main reason for that, in pitch roofs, we settled the modules as flush mount. So since there is no tilt angle, there were no requirement for the space between modules. However, in flat roofs, we settled modules as 32 tilt angle. So around 2 meter row spacing was required. Also, we also saw that in the limited roof area, the energy production is highly dependent on the module type and module size. To see this better, I would like to show the table 4. In here, you can see that we applied the different 2 modules in the same building again, but this time we selected the same technological modules in here. Both modules are the same technology. They are both polycrystalline modules. However, although the technology is the same, we saw that the settlement number of the modules are different because of the size of the module. And hence, we saw that for the limited roof area, the size of the modules are highly important. Also, we saw that in bifacial scenario, we can produce around 47,000 megawatt hour annual energy production. It equals around 30 megawatts. And by this production in public buildings, we can provide a demand of around 17 people's energy consumption. So since it is a preliminary study, the educational buildings such as the high schools or universities are not included in this study. So this study can be extended to addition of other educational buildings and other buildings. Also, now we are planning to extend the study with the techno-economical version. Here is my references, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ceren, for your presentation. Are there any questions from the audience?
Yeah, I have a question to Ceren.
Please.
Okay.
Please.
Ceren, your study is mostly based on the technical aspects. Did you make any economical, social, or specifically the administration part? I mean, one of the buildings were TPAOs, for example. Did you talk to those guys that would they let their roofs to build this?
No, it is just a technical study, but we are now planning to changing the modules with the ones with we can provide from Turkey. We are selecting different modules we now currently applicable in Turkey. So now after this study, we are planning to economical part of this by selecting the modules and inverters we can directly find in Turkey, and we are taking price for them.
Yeah, that's very good, because we know that the technical part is the easiest part. The most difficult part is the acceptance of the people and the legal and administrative infrastructure of the systems, I guess, right?
Yes. Yes,
Okay,
but
thank
according to last year, the new regulations are also promote the rooftop PV installment in public buildings. So the new regulations, I think, will be promote these installments for Turkey.
Yeah, that was a very good presentation. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I think one contribution could be, for example, monocrystalline panels have high efficiency, but have large initial investment cost because they are more expensive than polycrystalline.
Yes.
But the most people use polycrystalline PV panels because they are cheaper, although they are less efficient. Maybe you can make like cost-benefit analysis.
Yes, but actually we are not thinking about the eliminate the polycrystalline modules, because due to the situation in Turkey now, I took with a lot of sector members, and they said now they only install the monocrystalline modules because of the efficiency gap is increasing, and now they said that although the polycrystalline modules are less expensive, the consumers provide monocrystalline modules now. So
okay.
yeah.
Okay, you consider that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments?
Maybe a small question from my side. First of all, congratulations. This was impressive, very interesting. You mentioned at the upfront, which was concerning the cities being more renewables. They are setting targets for that. So that's what interests me, the policy implications. As far as I know, in Turkey, there is no as such a city which aims for 100% renewables or so. And let's assume this study is a starting point for that, for Ankara. What other areas Ankara needs to focus on in becoming a 100% renewables city? Could you make some suggestions there? Rooftop PV for public buildings, step one. What other things Ankara would need to consider to be in that list, which you showed at the very beginning of your presentation?
Yeah, because actually the main potential comes from residential buildings, because in Ankara every year around 2,500 new buildings are adding this potential. And I just observed a lot of roofs, and most of the chimneys and obstacles are in middle of the roof, so they all have shading effect. And this new 2015 buildings can build their new building, can build according to considering the rooftop potential. So we can design the roofs according to this potential because the horizontal irradiance is really high for Ankara, and we have huge residential building and the new building capacity. So the Ankara can be changed the regulation on the new buildings like Vienna.
Okay, that's interesting. So building design, it's a technical barrier, basically. Okay, that's important to note. Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. And are there any other questions? If not, I'm going to move to the next presentation. Thank you, Ceren, for your great presentation. So the next presentation will be given by Mohsine Majid. She's a master's student in our Sustainable Energy and Sustainable Development Program. Her presentation will be on a notable Turkey takes notable steps in renewable energy development.
I'm really thankful to you, my professors, and the organizing committee of the Graduate Student Conference for giving me this opportunity. My screen is shared to all of you.
Yeah, we can see it right now. We can
okay.
start.
So the topic for my presentation is about Turkey that's taken notable step in renewable energy development. In this my presentation, I will try to cover the recent updates that taken by Turkish government on energy sector. So first, I will discuss the importance of renewable energy for Turkey. Yes, it's very important for Turkey for renewable energy development because 75% of energy requirements that are fulfilled by energy imports by Turkey. So it's a big burden on its economy. And the most important is environmental issues, and for the sustainable development goals, it's very important for Turkey to take a notable step in this sector. And also there is a huge potential for renewable energy resources. And the second is the geographical location. Geographical location of Turkey is very important for renewable energy development. So Turkey's location for renewable energy development, Turkey has a Mediterranean climate. It means that it also has a hot climate and as well as a cold winters. When we talk about wind energy sectors, Turkey has a corridor-like region, like it's 3 sides surrounded by sea. So also the southeast coast also has a good sun energy for solar potential, and also has a geothermal potential. Like in Western Anatolia, 18% of its area is covered for the geothermal energy potential. And Turkey also has a livestock and agriculture and the biomass potential. So now I will talk about wind energy sector. There is an establishment of JICA. JICA it's a renewable energy resource zone that is initialized by Turkish government. This is a bidding committee that gives a different competitive bidding to our different sellers who can take like any project for solar and wind. So it started in 2017. So the first tender was won by Turkey, Energisa, and Germany. It's a tender of about 1,000 megawatt. Although the first tender was also about 1,000 megawatt, but it was in 2017. Like now it has only 2 tenders, but it's very good for about 1,000 megawatt. Now it's going to be 2,000 megawatts. So in the floor of the JICA, there is also inauguration of the first wind turbine it's in Izmir, and the wind turbine it will meet the energy demands of 1.1 million households. Its initial capacity was like it's planned like 17,000 megawatt, like it's in the future plans, but now current is potential is 1,462 megawatt. There is a speech of the Energy Minister Fatih on 25th of November. In this speech, he said like Turkey's aims to reach 10,000 megawatt of wind capacity, like in an addition of 740 megawatt capacity installed this year. Turkey's like current install like in the last months of 2020, it's 8,330 megawatts. So according to him, like Turkey stands 5th largest producer in wind sector in Europe and export 80%. When we talk about wind sector in like wind turbine producers and exports, it's ranking 5th person. But when we talk about its position, like in the renewable energy development, it's in 7th in Europe for its wind sector, like producing its installed wind capacity. So currently there is 186 wind power plants existing in Turkey. Installed capacity of wind energy will expect is to increase 11,200 megawatt by 2025. There is a recent estimate of IEA for the future forecast of in the wind sector of Turkey. So this is a wind turbine factor. This turbine factor is also under the first tender of JICA, like in 2017. It's under the first tender, and according to this tender, there is a establishment of turbine factor. Then after the establishment, there is some more like wind sectors plants in different cities, like installed in Kayseri, Edirne, Tekirdağ, and these cities, according to this first tender. So this is again this is some little bit more information about the second wind tender. There is 4 cities included in this tender. Like in this city, there is a wind plants like Aydın, Muğla, Başakşehir, and Çanakkale. So, and this is won by the 2 different bidding tenders like German and Turkish Energy. Solar energy. Currently, there is 1,773 existing solar power plants in Turkey. So the renewable based total installed power capacity share of solar energy is 16%. So there is a recent inauguration of Kaylon Solar Technology. It's a gigafactory in Ankara that's producing solar panels. There is an inauguration in August 2020. In this factory, 650 megawatt solar cell capacity. In this capacity, and 800 megawatt of solar panel capacity, plus 600,000 households. Like they can give their production to 600,000 households, and 1 gigawatt to 500 megawatt by June 2021. Like there is a future increase in 2021 because there is a rising demand both in locally and abroad. So there is a second tender in the solar energy sector. The tender is Karapana Renewable Energy Source Zones area. So it said like it will be the largest solar energy power plant in Turkey, but it start in 2017. Like in the 2017, there is an installation of 1 gigawatt solar fields 260 kilometers in the south of Konya. So there is the 2 competitors like Hanwha. This is a South Korean company, and the Turkey company. They take this tender, but Hanwha subsequently walk away from the deal. So they offer the lowest cost price is 6.99 cents per kilowatt hour. So these are some other solar plants. These both are constructed in 2015, and they're one of the largest solar power plants with these capacities, like 7,180 kilowatts per hour per year, and the second one is 30,792 kilowatts hour per year. These are both in Konya. So there is one more efforts by Turkey's Afghan holdings. They will install power of 1,021 megawatts in. So in 2024, Turkey is expected to add 10 gigawatt of solar power. Between 2019 and 2024, solar power will increase by 198%. This is the estimate by IEA. So when we talk about geothermal energy sector, geothermal based power generation capacity up to 2020 is 2,000 megawatts. Estimated power generation potential in it's more in the western region of Turkey, like it's 3,000 megawatt. This is a potential, but exploitable is 2,000 up to 2020. In total electricity production, it's the share of renewable energy is 2.4%. Now there are 33 geothermal power plants existing in Turkey. Turkey ranked 4th globally for cumulative geothermal power capacity. So hydraulic energy sector. Currently, there are 613 hydraulic plants in Turkey. Turkey hydropower will hit 31 gigawatt in 2024. It's forecast, and 28 gigawatt of installed capacity up to 2018. So the growth rate is 11%. There is the biggest and the most famous project is GAP project. Although it's a very old project, like it started in 1917, but it's still under construction, and is like year by year it's adding more and more capacity in its plan. So in this project, initially its plan is 22 dams and 19 hydroelectric plants, and 55 billion kilowatt hour of electricity annually. So it's basically in 2 rivers, Euphrates and Tigris rivers. So here is the map. You can see in this gap project is cover all these areas and cities. So the total installed capacity of hydraulic power plants will be 7,490 megawatt. So the current updates of GAP project is, as the end of 2015, there is 19 dams are built and 13 hydroelectric plants are under operational with a total installed capacity of 5,054 megawatt. But the initial target is 7,490 megawatt. So there is a recent address of President related with GAP project. He said, like, we will start and operating one of the 6 turbine at Ilsu Dam. Ilsu Dam, this dam is also under the project of GAP. Like Ilsu, a project carried out within the framework of GAP to boost development in the region. This will be the second largest dam in Turkey after Atatürk Dam. So the one of the most 3 largest dams also included like Atatürk, Karakare, and Tekeban dams. They which will increase its capacity by 106% up to 2019. Biomass, in fact, Turkey also has a huge potential for biomass energy because it also have very much activities of agricultural. Like there is 2 new biomass power plant and its total capacity is 72.2 megawatt. These are operational in Aysin and Salanfurva cities. And these efforts are Turkey's global investment holdings, and they start in 2019. Some of them is still under operational, but it's completing up to 17 megawatts. So it will supply to 15,000 households. The raw material they are using is cotton straws and animal waste. So electric generation forecast in 2023 up to 1,000 megawatt by biomass energy sector. There is one more turbo. Then there is a 2.3 megawatts, and that converts the chicken heat liter electricity power to like different for electricity production. And this categorized including 10 plants in Turkey. So the overall capacity will be the 35.7 megawatts. So when we talk about recent updates, the total capacity from renewable sources has been increases, like it's reaching to 44,500 megawatt by 2019. But when we talk about 2018, previous year it was 42, and 2015 year, like there is a steady change between 2018 to 2019. In the wind power sector, there is an increase from 364 megawatts to over 7,000 megawatts from 2008 to 2019. Majorities were onshore wind powers. Solar capacity rising significantly from just 4 megawatts in 2008 to 5,996 megawatts in 2019. Hydropower rising to 28,503 megawatts in 2019 from 28,000 megawatts the previous year. Geothermal, biomass, and other energy also rising from 300 gigawatt per hours in 2018 to 12.7 terawatt hours in 2019. Future forecast, even when we talk about like this, according to this pandemic, like even during the hardest time of COVID-19, wind energy projects have not stopped in Turkey. Turkey will rank 5th in Europe, increasing its renewable power capacity. Now Turkey ranks 7th in Europe, but according to its increasing renewable power capacity, it will rank 5th in the future. So forecast about added 82.2 gigawatts by 2025 to reach 66.8 gigawatts. By the end of 2020, it will reach 47 with an increase of around 1.1 gigawatts of hydropower and almost 900 megawatts of wind power. The Turkish government also agreed to extend the Yekdem period until June 2020, taking the COVID-19 pandemic into account. Yekdem is basically the JICA project, like it's competitive bidding. I said before, it's a JICA, like renewable resource zones projects. So they said we will extend it due to COVID-19 pandemic. So this is a kind of transition period for solar energy in Turkey. Turkey will receive application from mini JICA solar tenders in January 2020. Under these tenders, and the capacity will be 1 gigawatt. So renewable globally grew at a record pace this year despite COVID-19. Forecast that additional renewable energy capacity will continue to increase even through the second wave of pandemic. So when we talk about renewable energy policies that's taken by Turkish government, it's very in the favor of renewable energy developments. So when we talk about domestic energy, so domestic energy resources as the highest priority mix of public, private, and foreign capital estimating sources and the penetration of new and renewable sources, and diversify energy resources, dependence of energy imports from a single source, and encouraging this private sector investment. So for the target of 2023, it will ask to enlarge the renewable energy resources. Share of renewable energy in electricity generation by 2020, top priority of Turkish Ministry of Natural Resources. Country policy, also the ratio of the renewable energy resources in total installed capacity is going to be increased. Targets are set for 2023, that will be the 100th anniversary for Turkish Republic. Complete use potential of indigenous coals, hydraulic resources, and renewable resources, and incorporate nuclear energy into electricity generation within the period until 2020. Secure rapid and continuous improvement in energy efficiency, and according to parallel European Union countries to follow that the installment plans. So my conclusion for this is like continuous developments in the renewable energy sector, like in order to lessen the energy imports from other country, and Turkey also opened the way for investment in wind energy or in solar energy products, increasing share and in renewable energy. And the more efforts and effective plans are still need to become one of the top country. Like when we compare with Germany, the share of Germany for renewable energy production is will be the 65% in coming years, like in 2023. But the Turkey's plan for 2020 will be with 30%. We can see different renewable energy plants like wind, solar. They are constructed at different sites or locations in Turkey in order to cover all the area within the with the facility of renewable energy. So in recent years, solar and wind energy projects they are play a major role in sustainable energy development. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Mohsina. Great presentation. Are there any questions from the audience?
Gökhan, can I ask a question?
Sure. Şener Hocam, please.
Good morning. Mohsina, it was very good review of what's happening in Turkish renewable energy sector. Are you doing MSc or PhD on this subject?
No, I'm showing masters.
Masters.
Now it's my third semester.
What are you aiming to as an outcome of this exercise? Are you going to put anything new, like what are the drivers in Turkey for any of those renewables taking the lead? Is it kind of public perception or the government policies or the prices, the cost or the technology? Do you have any intention to look into those different parameters?
I think it's basically all depends on government policies and investment plans, because now renewable when it take, it's also take as a very good investment floor to invest in this sector, and Turkish government also is very in the favor of renewable energy developments. So these are basically these drivers, I think.
Do you have any feeling towards the public perception on the renewables?
No, I don't think from public side, because when I take all the readings and measurements, I didn't see any public parameters in this aspect.
Okay, the last question, what's your background? What are you really studying in? What's your subject?
My master's is energy and sustainable development. Basically, I'm from Pakistan.
Okay.
I'm international student doing a master's in energy and sustainable development.
And your degree in, where did you graduated from? Which department?
I'm graduated from Pakistan.
Another subject.
It's environmental sciences.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think one addition could be, for example, we have a feed-in tariff mechanism. I think Şener Hocam was trying to ask. So we have an uncertain future for the feed-in tariff mechanism. in Turkey. So what might happen to that in the future? So I think you could add those different like public perception dimension, policy dimension. So as a future prospect.
Yes.
Yeah. Any other questions from?
Maybe just one thing, Gökhan Bey. First of all, congratulations. This is really like a little book about a summary of a book where you summarized everything that's going on in terms of the renewable energy in Turkey. It's very helpful. I think a good reference for many other students, for lectures, and to disseminate knowledge on Turkey's renewable energy. So congratulations for that.
Thank you.
One small question. What does the progress look like? Is it, are we reaching these targets, or are we overachieving them, or is it a stretch still to fulfill these objectives?
Yes, I think it's progressive and we are reaching targets because during this year 2019, like after Corona pandemic, like there is some wind in the wind sector. There is some plants that was under construction, but it's still progressive. Like even though COVID pandemic, they will not stop working. Like these are still under operational. So I think it's progressive. We can achieve the targets.
Okay, that would be good to add, I think, somewhere to show the progress in addition to the other feedback you received. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, welcome.
Yeah, Gökhan, maybe I want to add some comments. First of all, Mohsina, it was very good, really. It was a very good summary of the Turkish situation on renewable energy. But as far as I remember, you're going to be working for on the same subject for the Pakistan, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, to analyze the Pakistan and Turkey.
Very good. So it will give you a very good experience to see the whole thing from above. It was a visionary look at the Turkish renewable energy situation, but you will be concentrated on the Pakistan situation, right? It will be
Yes.
a very good example for you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So it was really a very good summary. And maybe one comment to Şener Hocam, about the public perception. As a Center for Energy and Sustainable Development of Kadir Has University, we are conducting a public survey measuring the preferences of the public for last 4 years, starting from 2016. So we made it 3 in a row. Unfortunately, this year we can't do it, for the COVID-19 pandemic, but we're going to continue it next year. So you can find the results of all these in our web pages at Kadir Has University. And in general, I would say that the Turkish public, usually prefer renewable energy. However, Turkish people, we can say that Turkish people is a gas people, They like natural gas. They want to use natural gas. They support the government's natural gas policies. But when we ask, what do you prefer as the major dominant energy source that you're going to be using, they all say it's either solar or wind. So there's a good support from the public, I think. So thank you.
Yeah, it will be very helpful to Monşia to have another great section on her thesis to discuss public perception and effect of public perception on.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Take that one into consideration.
Yeah, I think that Pakistan's public perception on renewable energy will be very interesting. That's what you have to do.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohsina, for your presentation and questions and comments.
Welcome, sir.
Yeah, I think we can move to the next presentation. Next presentation will be given by Elif and Şevval Çavuşoğlu from Middle East Technical University. Their study is on the use of decision support system to manage behavioral change in energy consumption through climate adaptation and mitigation. So Şevval, I think Şevval is here. So
Yes.
the floor is yours, Şevval. You can start sharing your screen.
Okay. Good morning again. And I would like to state that we are very happy to take part in this conference. And my friend Elif from Metro Regional Planning Graduate Program and me, Şevval Çavuşoğlu, from City Planning Graduate Program will have presentation under the title of the use of decision support systems to manage behavior change in energy consumption through climate adaptation and mitigation. Our presentation flow continues with introduction, conceptual framework, methodology, examination of prominent examples, general discussion and conclusion, and further study. When we look at how we decided to research this title, in theory, new suggestions for planning approach and solution-oriented strategies for climate change are needed. In practice, it's possible to get fast, controllable, measurable, and accurate results with decision support systems. However, the DSS do not vary according to social culture, so some problems may arise about user adaptation or accurate results. So aim and justification can be explained from three aspects: planning, technological and environmental aspects. And different sectors such as agriculture, transportation, industry, building, waste are positioned as effectors and affected by the climate change process. And the transport sector consumes a third of all final energy within the Europe. Therefore, innovations should be made within the scope of adaptation and mitigation, especially for the transportation sector. And decision support systems broadly as an interactive computer-based system that helps decision makers in sorting, analyzing decision-relevant data to allow them to summarize main points which assist them in making more informed and educated decisions. Also, smart cities are the result of a dynamic process which develops along 6 dimensions: smart economy, smart people, smart mobility, smart environment, smart living, and smart governance. Therefore, DSS operating systems are in the background of these smart applications in the cities. And DSS has some advantages. These are time savings, enhance effectiveness, improve interpersonal communication, promote learning, and increase organizational control. Behavioral change support system is a DSS that aims behavior change, transforms, an information system designed to form, alter, or reinforce attitudes, behaviors, or an act of complying without using deception, coercion, or inducements. And behavior change support systems should be both useful and easy to use, and persuasion through behavior change support systems should always be transparent. After research, more from that, as a data gathering method, we benefit literature review survey and gathering formal and informal information from past cases. As a data analysis method, we examine the existing research results and discuss theoretically. Now I will demonstrate one of the prominent examples from Turkey. It's special decision support system software development for carbon emissions. Its name is KAUS. An action plan has been prepared for the transition to a carbon neutral economy in the GAP region, determining the priority applications for 5 years. In this direction, KAUS software platform was created for the use of institutions, creating behavioral change through the implementation of the activities in the action plan and increasing the use of renewable source technological tools are 2 different approaches in developing KAUS. As a result of this approach, it's aimed to reduce carbon emissions. Thanks to KAUS, a software platform based on carbon emission calculation, it's possible to manage projects, monitor performance, prioritize, and establish external connections. The first stage is determining carbon emissions in the construction, transportation, industry, agriculture, and waste sectors for the GAP provinces. The second phase is about the central monitoring and evaluation of projects belonging to different sectors selected in line with the action plan in the transition to a carbon neutral economy. The project manager's responsibility is monitoring and evaluation of projects belonging to different sectors by the project actions every 6 months from the form or survey in the screen you see now. As a result of the project manager's evaluations, emission values will change due to action impact rates in the map of the platform. This decision support system has been prepared for 5 different sectors, including the transportation sector, and as a method, the parameters for each action in the action plan and the finding of indicators to measure these parameters are completed by scoring these indicators during the implementation process of the actions. Parameters are separated as phase-based parameters and action-based parameters. These are the ones that is the part where the actions situations such as awareness raising, financial systems are noted, and the spatial parameters divide tendency to actions, needs of actions, and past projects background parameters. Project managers note these parameters over 3 and find out with a calculation system how much emission the action will reduce. The indicators for awareness, I mean the one that we focus as a behavior change, are separated as meeting, education, advertising, information system, and user trend. These indicators are asked to project manager in a question form, such as, do you think meeting frequency is sufficient or not? And then the answer as a point over 3 added to overall carbon emission decrease rate of action. So CAUS has a very good and complex calculation system. However, it cannot be sufficient to reflect exact behavior or tendency to use rate of the DSS because it's based on a survey. Now, Elif will continue.
Hello, everyone. According to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, road transportation is recognized as the most significant source of carbon emissions from fuel burning. Transportation accounts for 28% of energy use, and surface transportation accounts for 40% of annual emissions. Also, a study in Sweden finds that the driver's spontaneous route choice is not the most fuel efficient for 46% of trips inland. These trips could have saved nearly 8% of fuel by using a fuel-optimized navigation system. And so we focused on the usage of DSS to manage behavior change in transportation area. Eco-routing has become a promising strategy to reduce emissions. It is a navigation system that suggests a travel route using the least amount of fuel or causes the least emissions. It is clear now that the faster route is not always the optimal route from an environmental perspective. So the optimal route should be determined by considering all factors affecting the emissions. With the handling of different factors as parameters, different eco-route models have emerged, and they are categorized into 2 different models according to the details of the parameters used, which are macroscopic and microscopic models. You can see some examples on the diagram, and now I will mention the prominent ones. EU published some reports to analyze the factors influencing emissions of passenger cars. The research methods of this report were literature review and different simulation methods. So identified emission factors specified like certification test for vehicles, weather conditions, road and fuel types. Finally, this report's main recommendation can be briefed as interactive emission and fuel consumption database would guide an educated consumer choice. A prominent accurate example application name is Mobile. It is a software application that estimates current and future emissions of vehicles. Its input parameters can be exampled as hourly temperature, vehicle features, average speed distribution, road type, etc. And this project's significant deficiency is low user interaction, since there is no persuasion system for users, just an estimation presentation of users. Another model is Cmea Model. It includes microscopic tools for estimating the emissions accurately. As a microscopic model, it focuses on vehicle behavior, so speed, road grade, cold start coefficients are among the main input factors. However, microscopic models may not be applicable for dynamic route planning, since it is difficult to obtain such information as a real data from every vehicle in reality. Also, a navigation application is improved with the addition of EcoRoute option, and now it offers a route to find the most environmental friendly way, as you can see in the figure. However, EcoRoute system applications are quite rare, and the most of the existing implementations are based on distance as parameter as a mitigation strategy, and neglecting both public transport usage, pedestrians, cyclists, and adaptation strategies by neglecting important parameters. So input parameters and necessary data were determined for EcoRoute DSS to be developed in our further study. Technical parameters should be speed, nature of the road, vehicle parameters, driving behavior, climatic conditions, traffic, fuel characteristic, public transport opportunity, etc. And user types should be determined as social parameters according to behavioral positions such as solidaristic behavior. Also, behavior change strategies like tipping point should be used, and according to these parameters, various data will be needed, like geographic feature of the area, climatic conditions, behavior mapping, and real-time traffic data, as you can see in the list. Now, I will mention some of the recommendations taken from the research. Adding an evaluation column on behavior in DSS after interviews with the target group before the project, determining common behavioral parameters, and scoring these parameters in the system during the project, and also behavioral map creation for the area should be ensured. Suggesting routes to parallel to behavior map and including every factor affecting the emissions for the eco-route should be sustained, and behavioral positions should be examined socioculturally and the system developed accordingly. Also, some sources of motivation are needed to direct people to change their behavior. For example, ecological route selection should be advantageous not only in terms of ecology, but also in terms of time and cost of users. To conclude, the issue of climate change is approached in two intertwined scopes as mitigation and adaptation. The role of emissions in the transport sector is not negligible, and this can be addressed by human behavior change. So decision support systems are in the solution part of this issue. Different decision support systems have been examined, and although there are detailed studies, they are incomplete in terms of including behavior-based parameters. At this point, it has been suggested that behavioral position analysis, additional behavior scoring system, behavioral map pre-interview can improve these systems. We talked about our preliminary study for a project. So as a further study, an accurate project is being worked on for its use mainly in Turkey. While shaping the content, parameters and strategies we mentioned will be added. Also, behavioral positions will be considered and persuasion systems will be developed accordingly. So main persuasion methods will be designed with behavioral science theories. And you can see the way we follow in here. And now we are nearly at the end. And these are our references. And thank you for your attention, and thank you for this conference.
Thank you, Elif and Şevval, for your presentation. Are there any questions from the audience? I think I have one question. If you consider like air pollution in one area, so it's highly dynamic. I mean, it may change from 1 month to another, from 1 year to another, or even in one day. So how do you include such a dynamic variable into your decision support system?
Yeah,
You take the averages, like monthly averages or yearly averages, and
yeah, it's one of the biggest problem of the project, because we need real-time data to achieve this, but it's a problem. You know, we cannot manage this, overcome this. You are right.
yeah. Yeah, I think there are too many variables, yeah, coming into the...
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
It was good, Elif and Şevval. Are you interested in particles as well as carbon?
Yes, but in not in a technical way. From the planning aspect, yes, we have new approach and strategies to reduce these carbon emissions. But it's
Particle
not
emissions are
please
as important as carbon now, especially for power stations. And it's a quite interesting area to go into as well, to do some simulations of particle distribution from a chimney of a power station. Might be added to really improve your work a little bit more technically.
Okay, thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
I think that is becoming your micro model, right? So you need to figure out how to link it with your like micro model. So how to link it micro model to micro model. It's a challenge, I guess. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you for the presentation. Any other questions from the Değer, please?
Question. No, thank you. I find this presentation very interesting because of the angle the researchers have taken. It's not technology focused. It uses technology to enable the contribution of behavioral change. And often in these climate scenarios, what I see recently is there is more and more non-technology options from behavior change contributing to the CO2 mitigation. And my question concerns the mitigation part. And on this energy consumption or energy conservation potential, what is the actual contribution of consumer behavior to the mitigation? Is it 5%, 10%, or is it actually we don't need to implement all these energy efficiency technologies, but by just changing our behavior, we can mitigate the CO2 emissions? So it's 100%. What is the contribution? Are we talking about a very marginal effect, or is it a significant effect? Can you comment on this if you come across anything while carrying out your research?
I guess we need to think about the parameters or indicators to measure this, and to have a rate of the behavior change rate, but we don't have right now, and it's very subjective situation.
Okay. Okay. The thing is, this is nearly for free, the whole thing. So that's why I think it has an important policy implication. And I mean, I don't know if you plan to take this research forward, it may be a good discussion point to think about at a later stage. As you said, it's subjective, but it could be an important policy angle to strengthen the basis of your research. But in any case, this was very, very interesting for me. Thank you again. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you. If there are no questions, we can move to the next presentation. Thank you, Elif and Şevval, again for your presentation. So next presentation, and it's the last presentation of this session, will be given by Elif and Hazal, who were our graduate students from Energy and Sustainable Development Master's Program. And their talk will be on towards SDGs, how to evaluate Turkey's metropolitan municipalities. Elif and Hazal, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Gökhan Hocam. Today, Elif and me will make a short presentation on Turkish metropolitan municipality election towards UN Sustainable Development Goals. And we will focus on 4 SDGs, which are related to environmental sustainability. We try to find essential role of local governments to achieve sustainable development goals. And we searched 30 metropolitan municipalities in Turkey. We use keywords and discourse analysis as methodology to examine the municipalities' actions, strategies, and projects. In this study, we focus on the years between 2015 to 2020, after 2019 Turkish local elections. And Elif will continue.
As many of you know that the SDG development agenda is adopted by the UN member states in 2015 to highlight the importance of peace and prosperity. There are 17 sustainable development goals, which requires global partnership. When it comes to the importance of municipalities and local governments, they have enough power to mobilize the citizens and empower them. And I will not count all the goals one by one. There are 17. For our specific study, we monitor them all in the context of metropolitan municipalities. And for this specific presentation, as Hazal said, we only focus on 4 SDGs. When it comes to context in Turkey, to achieve this SDGs, it's obvious that there is a need for public and private partnership with the local authorities, NGOs, academia, and the citizens. To be really honest, Turkey was quite successful to implement the Millennium Development Goals, these 8 goals, during the last 20 years, according to the international indexes. And when it comes to the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, it seems we have the enough infrastructure to take the motivation to fulfill all indicators. In Turkey, the Ministry of Development is in charge since January 2016 to implement and monitor the development of SDGs in Turkey. And according to the latest index, Turkey is 17th country out of 1,066 countries. And when we check the trends for all those 17 indicators, it seems we have a good track, but only for the SDG number 16, we have a declining momentum, and there is a little bit progress for the SDG number 13. And now Azal will take to continue with the SDG number 7.
Okay. Affordable and clean energy is the 7th target. And when we view the sub-targets of the goal, we can say that first one is providing global electricity access. In the world, there is a remarkable progress towards the target. It is not enough for the global achievement until 2030. The second one is increasing renewable energy share in global energy consumption. While overall share of the renewables are increasing, it needs more efforts and progressions. And the third one is doubling the rate of energy efficiency improvement. We can say that the current situation is not good, and it's far from 2030 targets. And when we look at Turkey's actions, we can say that Turkey's success on renewable energy development. However, the country faces some difficulties to reduce carbon emission rates in fossil fuels combustions. And it's our research results part. First of all, Turkey is a G20 country, and Turkey does not have any problem on electricity access. So there are only a few mentions about power cuts in municipalities' plans, strategies, or their websites. Second one is about renewable and clean energy targets in municipalities. And I try to give some good examples on this issue. For example, the municipalities uses the proper sources by their regions. Erzurum municipalities try to improve biomasses. Aydın and Balıkesir try to increase the rates of geothermal power plants. And also solar energy is important in Diyarbakır and Adana's strategies. And also there are some inspiring applications. For example, Manisa municipality uses local heating systems, and Konya has already started to install solar bus stops, and the municipality tried to increase the numbers. Also, there's a good example about clean energy transportation in Maraş and Eski municipalities. Even Turkey is not in the good situation in carbon emission rates. Only Mardin and Eskişehir municipalities uses coal decreasing policies. And many municipalities renewable energy targets, and many of them refers YEKDEM mechanism, and they emphasize on the uncertainties on these policies, and they see a risky situation to achieve their targets. But there are some municipalities that indicate the renewable energy targets, such as Bursa, Kayseri, Malatya, Mersin, Ordu, Sakarya, Samsun, Şanlıurfa, Tekirdağ, and Trabzon. The municipalities generally uses waste technology to increase energy development, but I can say that we don't consider waste as renewable. And the third indicator is also important, and there are a few municipalities. There is a few municipalities to show energy efficiency issue, but there are good examples. For example, I think Konya is very inspiring. Konya municipality tried to increase energy efficiency in industrial production, and Adana also has good examples. The steel targets to reduce energy using and try to increase energy saving 10%. And Eskişehir also try to reduce energy intensity. Malatya municipalities tries to convert light to lead, and Antalya, İzmir, and Istanbul municipalities try to increase awareness level of the citizens. And Elif can continue.
Then the next SDG is sustainable cities and communities. The basic aim of this SDG is to make cities and human settlement inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. And to monitor the development for this SDG, we simply monitor it, and we list indicators for us. And we check some certain keywords, and we focus on housing and basic services, transportation system, urbanization, culture norms, and disaster management, and waste management, and then accessible green and public spaces. As we said at the beginning of the presentation, most of these targets is for the developing countries, and when we check the overall situation of Turkey, it's not that bad. And this indicator has a kind of stable trend, stable momentum in Turkey. And what is really important for us, we detect that some certain keywords are repeated to highlight this SDG in the municipalities' strategic plan, like city planning, green cities, water saving, and urbanization. Almost all metropolitan municipalities are using the notion of sustainability in their wider communication. But when we detect the context, when we check the context, it seems the only 20 municipalities out of 30 metropolitan municipalities had a description of sustainability. When we say that description of sustainability, we take the UN's definition as a base, and we made the contextual data analysis, because most of the time municipalities are using sustainability out of context, like the sustainable human resources or sustainable roads, things like that. Only Şanlıurfa municipality doesn't mention the concept of sustainability in their strategic plan. I just put a sentence to give an example how the municipalities are taking sustainability as a case in their strategic plan. Şanlıurfa municipality mentioned that their basic aim to accelerate the urban development of Şanlıurfa city by equipping Şanlıurfa with the mega projects. It was many times repeated in their strategic plan that their, let's say, the basic aim for the upcoming 4 years, it's fulfill the Şanlıurfa with the mega projects. As we said at the beginning of the study, we checked the strategic plan for the 2015-2019, and also we checked the new strategic plan of the municipalities. Ankara municipality didn't mention about the concept of sustainability and sustainable cities in their prior plan, but with the new plan, they also gives a high importance for this context. And when we check the best practices, it seems the Balıkesir Metropolitan Municipality has a big success because they have a planning center, and this planning center is basically working for the SDG number 11. They have studies on history, culture, education, health, sociology, natural resources, agriculture, energy resources, and resource reserves. It's not only theoretical based, they're also monitoring and checking the progress in the municipality. And also Kayseri municipality has a strategic aim on the sustainable cities. And Muğla municipality had many workshops on the sustainable cities. It's quite obvious that the cities have the great emphasis on the green cities like Erzurum, Maraş, and Konya. But there is a one single tip that makes us somehow shocked, because none of the, let's say, the municipalities in the Black Sea region of Turkey mention about green cities or the sustainable context in their strategic plan.
And the other one is responsible consumption and production SDG. The world has vital and growing problems on unsustainable production and consumption. For example, 3 billion tons of food is wasted every year. 2 billion people are overweight, while almost 2 billion people go hungry. And also global material footprint increasing year by year. Electronic waste is another important problem. It's growing faster than recycling. And when we look Turkey's situation, I can mention that electronic waste and non-recycled municipal solid waste are important problems. For responsible production, we use some specific vocabularies such as such as waste, chemicals, electronics, solids, recycling, and methane. I can say that all of the municipalities have waste management strategies, and almost all of them refers a national zero waste strategy, and the national strategy is affecting municipalities, I think. Also, there are some good examples, some inspiring applications and targets in municipalities, such as Balıkesir municipalities encourage its citizens, its locals to support animal manures for producing biogases. Also, Kayseri mentions composting is important. Aydın, Bursa, Gaziantep, and Samsun municipalities, and also Trabzon, try to produce electricity from waste.
Konya gives importance to raising awareness on electronic waste. It's the unique one. Also, Antalya has good example on collecting the bottles of agricultural pesticides. There are lots of good examples on waste management issue. However, I should mention that responsible production and consumption is only addressed in Adana and Balıkesir municipalities, and we should also mention that there is a need for raising awareness on sustainable consumption and production rather than arranging waste management issues. We try to stop useless consumption and production.
Okay, then the next SDG is number 13, climate action. It's about taking urgent action to combat climate change, and there are 3 indicators that we specifically try to check for our study. It's the strengthen resilience to combat climate change, integrate climate change measures into the national policies, and also improve the awareness raising campaigns to combat climate action. And next page, Hazal. This indicators, as I said at the beginning, the indicators had a declining momentum until 2019, but it seems our situation has a little bit developed within a year. And we checked some certain keywords to detect the situation, which are drought, water resources, and agriculture. And it seems out of 30 metropolitan municipalities, only 17 have a climate action plan, actually, which is the effect of Paris Climate Agreement. We also have a national level climate action plan, but it seems it's not available it doesn't provide some certain standard for the municipalities, because when we check the municipal level climate action plan, there are many differences, and it seems there is no centralized standards for it. And also the other interesting thing that we detect, that many municipalities are mentioning about the disaster management, but it's not in the context of climate change. They are giving specific focuses on drought and floods and the other disasters, but they never mention the effect of climate change, and they never mention how the climate change will increase the disasters in the long run and how it will affect the municipalities in the long run. For us, the best practice was the Adana, because they had the environmental law, and it seems to prepare this law. They checked the international examples, and also they tried to adapt the national level climate action plan. It was really impressive. And also municipalities like Gaziantep, Istanbul, Muğla, and Trabzon have their local level climate action plans. And Tekirdağ is one step further. It has its own climate change adaptation project, and now they are about to write their adaptation plan. And also in the municipalities like Kayseri and Kocaeli, they have their own greenhouse gas inventory reports, and it's not just one-time report, it's progressive. They're updating their reports every year. And I will briefly summarize our main findings for the study. It's the general findings. Only Istanbul, Eskişehir, İzmir, and Mersin metropolitan municipalities are mentioning the SDGs, the concept itself, in their strategic plan. Only 2/3 of metropolitan municipalities have the definition of sustainability in their further reports and plans. And different renewable energy resources by region are highlighted. It's the good point of the study. And as I said, there is a serious emphasis on drought, but not always in the context of climate change. Unfortunately, 1/3 of the municipalities only are using the definition of gender equality in their strategic plans. And again, 1/3 of the municipalities which have a coastline do not have any study on the marine pollution. And half of the municipalities are working on the peace and justice. It's important because this is the indicator Turkey has a really bad trend for years. And Hazal, could you please next? Okay. There is already an infrastructure in many areas in Turkey metropolitan municipalities to fight against poverty, urbanization, industry, health, and education. It seems the municipalities have many related projects, targets, but to be really honest, none of them are associated with the SDGs. Even there is a windows of opportunity there because they can get the funds from government, from the international organization, but there is a lack of association. And also there are not certain targets, indicators, even for the municipalities which have the great plans, great long run and short run targets. They don't have the indicators and measuring mechanism to detect the process. And also they don't have the specific time frame and bond. And also their budgeting process is not transparent and public. And also one of the important side of this project, it's definitely needed to have the contextual data analysis, because when we just do the keyword search or the discourse analysis, we can detect the many indicators, we can detect the many keywords, but it seems most of the time the municipalities or the authors of this report just put these words, but when we check the context, most of the time they are irrelevant and they are not fitting into the context. And then I will briefly give some, let's say, the inspiring points for the further studies. Hazal, could you please next? Thanks. We start the study right after the local election because we were really curious about it. There were many municipalities which were handed over from one party to the other party, and there were, it seems the status quo will change, and there are many assigned trustees, mayors, and governments. We were wondering how it will affect the SDGs at the municipal level. For the further studies, the party dynamics and the party's particular agenda on the SDGs will be studies, and also how to differentiate the local and central governments will be another study, because we also detect that the central agenda and also local agenda are not always fitting into each other. And also it's important to compare the before and after election periods to see the progress. And also it's important to check the city councils because they are getting many funds from the EU, and now many of the city councils are working on the particularly energy efficiency and the climate action. There will be another study to detect how the city councils are approaching the SDGs within the local governments. And also monitoring and budgeting is another issue. Currently, Hazal and I are working on it. We are trying to collect the data on the how much money the municipalities are giving to fulfill the certain targets. It will also say a lot, because when we say that this municipality has a great plan, it's also needed to see how much money they are reserving to implement this study. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Elif and Hazal, for this great presentation. Are there any questions from the audience? I think I have one question. So most of these municipalities are located in Western Turkey and Northern Turkey. So that means that like municipalities located in the eastern part of the Turkey, they don't have any strategic plans for climate change? Or what's the reason?
At the first time, it was really impressive for us to see, because we didn't only check the keywords, as I said. At the first look, it seems the municipalities have some certain studies, but when we go into details, it seems just at the theoretical level they have something.
And also we can mention that there are some trustee municipalities. For example, Diyarbakır municipality had a really good plan in previous years. But now the municipality hasn't published its new plan, for example. That's maybe one reason, I think.
And also, it's not the priority. According to municipal law, Article 41, they have to prepare their strategic plan just right after the 6 months of the local election. And they just put, currently they just put their strategic plan. We were just waiting for it with Hazal for months. and it seems they are not ready. Most of the time, it just copy-paste from the last strategic plan. And also, as Hazal said, even some municipalities didn't upload it yet, or it's not public. They are saying we have a plan, but it's not open to public.
I think they also don't have any performance indicators. For example, at the end of the 5 years, if they, did the necessary
It's really
actions.
pity they don't have, but we know from the Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality that internally they are checking their progress, they're monitoring, and they're preparing reports. But again, it's not transparent. It's actually against the soul of this SDGs because it's for the public, and to evaluate the real success of this SDGs, the public should know the progress, but there is no legal binding, let's say, the solution in Turkey.
Yeah. You think that in terms of climate, these plans should have a longer term, but I think it's only limited with the current administration, like 5 year term. So it's interesting.
Some of them has long-term climate action plans. For example, Istanbul municipality has good climate action plans for long term, but we generally use the public strategic plans, general plans.
Okay.
5-year plans.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Maybe one final contribution after listening to these 5 presentations. I think there's a huge potential Turkey offers on renewables and energy efficiency on both the power and buildings, transport, and industry sectors. We are progressing towards utilizing this potential because we have the policies. However, we need more focus on climate adaptation. This is what I've heard today. So, and from also this presentation, the very last one. And finally, I think we need more frequent updates of our plans and monitoring in principle, monitoring schemes to be able to see how we progress, and also as a contribution to the updates of these plans. That's something we need more efforts on. So this was my conclusion from these 5 presentations of today, which were all very impressive. And also to the last presenters, also congratulations. It was very, very interesting. Thank you for making me part of this event in this morning today. Thank you again.
Thank you. And I will also add a few closing remarks to this session. Actually, we had very great 5 presentations in this session on green and sustainable energy. I would like to say thank you for the presenters and audience contributing to the discussions. I think we have clearly seen that this sustainable energy development has many dimensions, including climate change, technological development, public perception, and behavioral change. And I think they all have an important role. And from the presentations, we learned that each of the dimensions are becoming more and more local and requires different strategies. So again, I would like to once more congratulate all the students contributing to this session for their great presentations. I wish you good luck with your studies and especially with your thesis. I think, Volkan Hocam, would you like to add few things, or your mic is off, I guess?
Yeah, I think it was a great session. I'd like to thank all of the students who participated in this. I wish you good luck for their further studies. And I also would like you, the moderators and discussant, sevgili Gökhan and Değer, thank you for your sharing your valuable time with us here. And we will meet in maybe 10 minutes. The next session will start at 11:30. So we will have a short break, and then after we will meet another session. Thank you all. Bildan, are you going to say something else?
I'm going to say the same things, dear Professor, and I also thank to the presenters for their beneficial study research. It was really great. And to the moderators, Değer, Saygın, and Gökhan, Kirkil, for their effective moderations. It's very, very nice. And also to the dear professors, Volkan, Ediger, and Şener Oktik, for their valuable contributions. And yes, we have now 10 minutes break, and we wish to see you after it, and see you then. Have a nice break.
Thank you.